I'm gonna put
You
out an
ready,
announcement.
Tony?
Yeah,
Okay,
dude.
the
I'm
stage is
seeing we've got
yours.
20 people here without me putting an announcement. How the hell is that going? Wait, did someone else put out an announcement? Someone else cheekily done that? Let me see. What do
Yeah,
we
it's
think? Do we think
on the events. It's on the
Bro,
events,
what's up?
so
Why you drag me,
they got
bro?
pinged.
let's see. Did someone put out an announcement? What do you reckon? No one put out an announcement, guys. That's crazy. That's crazy. All right, I'm gonna put out an announcement too. Welcome, welcome, welcome. How's everyone's day going? It's a Thursday. It feels like Friday to me. Does it feel like Friday for anyone else, or is that just me? How about myself?
Yeah, I feel like I don't know what the day of the week it is now.
I feel
What
like
does it feel?
So like
Monday.
Plus one to that. I don't feel which which day of the week it is.
Yeah, man. I mean, that's part of being in Web3, right? The days seem to mold together a little bit here and there. But guys, let's jump in. So today we're going to be having a bit of a discussion about making a lasting impression. So one of the things you're going to want to do really heavily with both clients and when you're trying to get a job is to make yourself really stick in the memory of the people that you're interacting with. Okay. So I'm sure you guys all recognize this because even if you don't think about it consciously, you have people that you interact with that stick out to you and you're really likely to remember, whether it be that shop teller, that person who's even just passing down the street. Heck, maybe it's someone at the gym who you notice and look at for different reasons, okay? Or maybe if it's a worker or a colleague who really resonates. This is a really key concept, and it actually, in my opinion, is really tied to first impression. And I'm gonna have to mute whoever's hot micing there really quickly. My apologies. Who is that? Is that you, Ganesh?
He's hum miking.
No, it was someone else. I muted him.
Oh man, dude, you're on the ball. I love it. I love it. Okay, cool. So yeah, the thing you're gonna realize is that there's different ways of sticking out and having a memorable experience. And there's also a flip side to everything I'm saying, guys. And what's that flip side? Does anyone have any ideas? Any ideas?
You form relationships.
You do, but the flip side, the downside is that just as you can stand out and you can make a positive impression, you can very easily make a negative, lasting impression too. Okay, so this cuts both ways. It's not just all positive. It can really be both. So I'd like to
yeah, it
challenge you
feels
guys.
like it's a two-edged sword.
Yeah,
I'm
dude.
focused on negative ones, by the way.
Yeah,
Haha.
but a lot of people are, and there's a reason for that as well. Is because human psychology is more focused on negative encounters, and people argue why that's the case. But just think about yourself: how many more negative moments? If you reflect on those moments when you felt really embarrassed or foolish, or where you think you fucked up or you wronged someone that you think about, right? How many more of those negative moments can you remember than these really incredible moments where you treated people kindly or you did an act of love? So people are actually more inclined to remember negative experiences. This is really, we're up against it to some extent, my friends, because we're more likely to have our transgressions and failures held against us than our positive stuff remembered. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this, but there's probably been people in your life who you've looked after and you've cared for and you've done a lot of things for them, right? Consistently, whether it be, giving them food, say to that friend at school, you always bought food, you always did things for them, and you just say no one day, and then you're the worst person in the world, whether that's a friend or family member. I know almost everyone here can relate. So,
So you're bringing back trauma.
but it's the thing, right? You guys can all relate to that. And this person will hold on to that negative experience and they'll forget the 100 things you gave for them or you did for them. So we are up against it when we're trying to create this positive experience. That's one thing we're going to discuss as well. So here's what we're going to start with. I want some people here to give an example, ideally in business, but it doesn't have to be in business, of where they can remember someone making a lasting impression on them. Now, it can actually be either negative or positive. We're going to try and get a bit of spice, a bit of variety from both sides. So who wants to go first? And if you have a business example, that'd be really good. But personal examples are acceptable too. So we'll accept both. Who wants to have a crack? And by the way, there's 32 people here. I know for a fact you guys have had experiences in life where you remember people for bad or for good or for bad, right? So this isn't something that there should be silence on because we can all relate to this. Fair to say? Fair to say, my friends? I really do believe this is something that we can relate on. So let me see if there's messages in chat because I'm currently. So what's the question? I'll re-ask it again. I want us to give examples. Supercrunch, man, I love the initiative. You rock up late, but then you want to jump just straight into it, man. I want to give some examples that people have in their life, ideally their business life or their personal life, where they can remember people really making a lasting impression on them. And Chime, dude, your server muted. What the fuck happened to you, Chime, bro? How did that happen? Who did that to you, bro? Chime, you're out of jail. You're free. You're free.
Yeah,
what the-
okay.
Sorry, man. I don't know who would do that to you. You're such a great contributor. Oh, dude, the guy with weird food names. The food name guy. This masala dosa fool. And that's right, you heard me. Fool. You fool. Did that, man. God damn. So sorry, Chime. The food guy did that. The kebab, the hot dog, the chicken sauce, the masala dosa, the kavod. Anyway, Strek, I need your name returned, dude. I need to retain your. I need to get your name back. But Ganesh, we'll get onto that in a second. Chime, do you have an example that I can think? Oh, dude, the lasso. I'm hungry as well. But do you have an example you can think of?
Yeah. It's not really business related. It's mostly school.
That's
So
all right,
like
man.
when I was in when I was still in, because like I'm in university in Nigeria. So like when I was still in secondary school, because like we don't call it high school, call it secondary school. So like when I was still in secondary school, I think for me, because I'm a law student now, so like for me, starting the first class, junior secondary school, one was I had so much problems with mathematics. So like I didn't know, like I was a bank average student at mathematics, and then I met a math teacher who like basically like his teaching style was unconventional. His mode of operation was just so different, and then he like encouraged me to like ask questions, to always challenge anything he says in class. Like if I do not understand, I should come back and meet him for answers and stuff like that. So like he just created an avenue for me to grow. And then I ended up like becoming the best student in mathematics like all through my stay in secondary school, and then went on to study law because of him. So like I can't forget his name, I can't forget his face, I can't forget how he looks because of that. I mean that's everything that happened like that. So like that's one experience that I have as a person.
Wow. Okay, that's really cool, man. You touched on something very powerful there, which is I guess, let's take a step out, guys. What is memory? Okay, because like if to make a lasting impression, you've basically got to form a memory, and a memory is a byproduct of past experience. A memory is a byproduct of past experience, and memories are tied to emotions. So if you think back about the most vivid memories in your life, most of them will be tied to an emotion, and this makes sense, right? Because it's your brain's way of engraving something with meaning. So if you touch a hot stove, like you're going to remember that experience, you're going to know not to do it again. If you're in an awkward situation, or you freeze up, or you feel this tremendously positive emotion, you're going to have a memory of this to try and recreate that experience. So memories are tied to emotions, right? This is very intrinsically, and I want you guys to actually just digest that for a second and really understand what I'm saying to you. Memories are tied to emotions. So to make yourself memorable, you have to elicit an emotion in someone. If you're just like very vanilla and you can't create an emotional response, you're not going to really register long term, either positively or negatively. As you said there, Chime, like that dude, your teacher, has had a tremendously emotional effect on your trajectory in life, right? So something you can emotionally reflect on, and then you can attach that with a memory. So in one sense, there's going to be that, and Ella's saying people don't remember what you say, but how you make them feel. So this is really important concept, guys. So the fact we've really locked into this early is super positive. We're going to get back to that. But Super Crunch, I'm not going to ask you a question again, dude. I literally asked it a second time just for your sake when you rocking late to my session. You're rocking late, you come in here with your shirt untucked, acting a fool, and then you ask me to repeat it one time. I repeat it once and you'll want more. It's too much, brother. I'm telling you, brother. But Ganesh has asked a really good question. That question Ganesh asked is, I want to know how you can handle burnouts. Well, that's a good question, Ganesh, but it is at best tangential to our discussion. and at worst a bit unrelated, my friend. So how about we circle back to that at the end? I think that could be good. Sorry, man. And was there anything else? So Lupin's added something here. He said, JoeKnee, in a restaurant, good marketing, bad product food. I'll just try it once and I'll leave. So to what extent does that correlate to making an impression? Well, I guess you could say they've made a lasting impression. Lupin said that he's going to never go back there. So that never's a long bloody time. And it goes to show something really powerful, which is that all it takes is one experience, one memory, one emotion to avoid experiences altogether in the future. So it really does show how critical every moment is, every client interaction, every time you're dealing with your employer. You're only as good as your last sentence. All right, guys? And it's a tough thing to realize, but even experts, say you've got a doctorate or a PhD in something, you're still only as good as your last sentence. You can be proven an idiot, essentially, in the court of public opinion based upon what the last words that you utter out your mouth are. So it shows that there's this real need with Lupin's example. This is a good restaurant with good marketing. Maybe it does good food every other time, apart from when Lupin just got this one dish they did bad. But still, that's going to have a lasting impression that's going to be really challenging. All right, so I think that one of the most important lessons I can give to you guys right now, and dude, if you troll me, all right, I want to just quickly talk to you guys all right now very seriously. If I have anyone troll me named Super Crunch or Yusuf, I will hunt you down and do something really mean, okay, to your firstborn child. So I hope you don't do that to me, okay, man? I'm really trying to be very honest with you now. Okay, this is the most important thing for me to share with amount of people in Web3, because I see you guys get it wrong all the time, man. People got it wrong today, and oh man. All right, I'm gonna be fucking really honest. You guys want me to be honest? Say yes, chat, if you want me to be honest. I'm known for this shit. I'm known for just shooting it straight. Yes, if you want me to tell you a secret, man. Yeah? I'm about to give you guys an actual secret of Web3. If you message someone looking for an opportunity, saying like hi or like hello, and you don't actually provide anything of value, you have almost no chance of getting a reply from a busy person, okay? So I'm going to give you an example of a message that I received yesterday. And this person, and if you're here, you know who you are if you're here. And that's okay, because I told you off in chat. But that's fine. This person wanted a job, right? They've seen me be posting about job opportunities. They're a job seeker. So they're looking for this opportunity, which is cool. Guess what they messaged me? Right? I'll send you a screenshot. I'm not going to send the names because I don't want to be disrespectful. But I love this person. This person's cool with me, right? Like I ain't TSing out here. This is a friend of mine. But they sent me this, right? This is what they sent. I didn't reply to this. I'm sending it in chat. They sent me that, right? And they're looking for a job opportunity. I didn't reply. And they hit me up being like, bro, why are you fading me? Do you think that stood out to me? There's something to respond to? Do you know what I mean? They literally asked me in chat. They said, why are you fading? Bro, like, I'm not trying to be mean here, but you know, you guys get what I'm trying to say, okay? You can't be doing that, man. Because after that conversation, they then sent me their resume and they wanted all this other, like they wanted to have that discussion. But that's exactly what you can't do if you want to get noticed. So off the bat, if you're trying to communicate with someone via DM, you can't just be saying hi, hello, or like anything like that, or just GM, what's up. The amount of messages I get on Twitter and Discord like that are wild, guys. And I'm not gonna reply to you. No offense. Like I gotta be completely honest. Like you must do better in your initial message and provide something of value. Be direct. Like lead to an outcome. None of this just hi, hello stuff. Okay. Like imagine how busy people are. Imagine Ruthie. Can you imagine how many DMs this dude gets, right? And like the amount of stuff he's got to respond to. It's just physically impossible for him to reply to those messages and have those conversations, okay? So you gotta give more to make this. And I'm just trying to really help you stand out, because the first step in standing out is, in a lot of ways, in Web3. Well, sure, okay, we're going to talk about this in 3 separate ways. We're going to talk about it in Web3 via text. We're going to talk about it in Web3 via voice. Then we're going to talk about it in Web2, right? So let's start with in Web3 via text. Via text in Web3, you've got to provide something different and interesting that captures attention immediately, okay? So whether that, and by the way, back in the day, sending a resume was good enough to do that because it was like this professional touch. But that doesn't even work anymore, guys, because it's actually become pretty common. So you got to stand out. And the best way maybe that I've seen in a while of this, and I've actually had some people in chat who are here right now do this directly to me, is they've heard me talk about a project or something I needed done or a job or whatever, and they sort of sent me like a proposal about it, like ideas. One that comes to mind, and you know who you are if you're here, was this idea about having emblems they knew I didn't have many collab spots to give away for a project I'm working on. And they sent me this idea of how we could utilize our whitelist more effectively. They just sent it to me. Well, that message is going to stand out, okay? They also sent this message to Ruthie, and Ruthie DM'd me that message too. So what has that person done? They've captured my attention, they've captured Ruthie's attention, and they've made Ruthie bring that to my attention. So they've literally guaranteed themselves a response. So that's going to create at least an initial impression that's going to endure. The thing that I'm focusing on here, guys, I know the discussion is called making a lasting impression, but really, let's talk about in Web3, you need to make an initial impression that gets you through the bloody front door, don't you? Let alone a lasting impression. So keep that in mind. So by a text, you got to do something different, man. I'm telling you, you can't do the same generic shit. Don't be the person who messaged me that yo stuff. It just ain't going to cut it at all. But still, you can't just be doing these generic messages, man. It ain't it. And please don't fall into that trap. Who was here for my last chat about Timmy? Who remembers Timmy? Someone say yes in chat if you remember Timmy. Some of you guys got to be at all my things. Strek, you remember Timmy. Ella remembers Timmy. Joseph, Ryan, yeah, Ryan B. Dude, Timmy would just send, yo, Joe, how are you, man? Okay, and then Timmy wonders why he isn't getting a job through. And he's asked Joe, he's asked Ruthie, he's hit up a stand, he says, yo, and they're fading him, okay? Don't be Timmy, man. Don't be Timmy. That isn't what you want to be doing, all right? Okay, enough about that message. Let's talk about how you can be noticed and make that initial first impression via voice chat. So the number one thing that I've noticed there is you need to find someone, like i.e. myself, and guys, I'm giving you some real secrets here. You need to try and find an interest of this person, okay? So if you just come on here, and you'll notice, my friends, like I'm being somewhat brutal with how I say these things, but I'm doing that because I actually care about you guys. And too many people speak too politically correctly, and they're polite. I'd rather just let you know how human beings work, okay? And we can just accept that and be honest. Don't come on here, man, and tell me all the things that you're doing because people don't care. I hate to be rude, but like some people do, but most people don't care. They're very self-focused. Humans are very self-directed, okay? So people are going to tune out. They might even, by the way, they might even ask you what you're doing, but they still might not even care, okay? So you need to try and connect with them first on a personal level. And I think that's something that's a lot of smart people, they miss. They miss the fact that it's really relevant to try and find out if someone's got any kids or if they're watching a sporting game that evening or if they've got something going on with their mother or their father or if they've got an injury or something. You got to find something personal about that person and connect with them via voice chat if you have the opportunity in a discussion. And then that can be your thread to link to that person. Another great thing is a shared interest. So for me, one of the best ways you can bond with me is if you like chess. If you like chess, all you would have had to do is probably come on a VC when I'm there and say, yo, I play chess. Joe played chess with me. And me and you would probably have deepened our relationship. Okay. So to make these initial impressions, find something personal you can connect with people about. Do the same thing with clients, man. Every client call, I'll spend the first few minutes trying to connect with clients on a bit more of a personal level. And when I learn something, like for example, I've got a South Korean client. I had a discussion with them, and just in the initial phase when I was just communicating, I learned that they were going to Japan for an event in a few days. Okay. Then when I got on the next call, I spent the first 5 minutes asking them about Japan, the food there, seeing what we could connect on, the drinks and the experiences, the place they went. These things go a long way to being remembered, guys. I don't want you to discount these stuff. So I can count on my hands the people I've played chess with, and I remember them really meaningfully for it. So I'm not saying you have to play me in chess, but do you get what I'm saying about how you can make an impression initially through connecting on a personal level? And guys, this should be triggering the thought in your mind. This is once again coming back to an emotion, okay? So if you're talking to someone about their trip in Japan or their mother who's got a condition or their girlfriend or their child, you're communicating with emotions, right? So please keep that in mind. There's likely going to be emotions attached, right? So I can see a few people here saying we've played chess, UG, Joseph, and it goes to show, right? It's a really good way of connecting with people. Okay, I'm gonna read what Ganesh is saying. Hi, bro. I crave real life events. I'm not sure you don't. I'm not sure you don't share much. So you're saying is that you might need to clarify what you mean by that, Ganesh. So you crave real life events, but you clarify what you mean, man, and I'll get back to you there. Regison, you're saying I remember someone telling me that they have a list of all people they've ever talked with. They've got 1 to 4 notes about each of those people. So every time they need to contact them, they pull out those notes and they use it to reconnect. Yeah, so that's good. That's good. I actually did that temporarily. And I think that there's something really strong about that. There was also a really famous American president who did that. I forget who it was, but he was renowned for remembering everyone's name and these little touches. So it's a good idea, but I also think it's probably not necessary. It's an option, okay? If you need to do that, you need to do that. But for everyone, Franklin Roosevelt, yeah, Chime. I think is that in How to Win Friends and Influence People? Is that where you got that from? Let me know.
I'm sorry. What?
Yeah, it was.
Sorry, I didn't hear you. I didn't hear what you asked.
Was that from the book How to Win Friends and Influence People? That you read that? About
No,
Franklin
no, no.
Roosevelt?
Like I was researching on American presidents, and like that's how I knew Franklin. Like he did this like during the Great Depression when he did this radio thing he did like almost every night where he like just talked on the radio
Yeah.
to Americans. So like from there I knew like he remembered people where that
Yeah.
he met.
I think you're right. It's a pretty powerful example. But yeah, so if you need to create that list, Tend to it. Take notes. I've done it myself at some point. Super Crunch. How do I deal with my frustrations? Guys, really good question. Now, the answer to this is I find someone weaker than myself and I bully them. No, I'm kidding. Never do that. That's really toxic. That's a horrible thing. But people do. There used to be this
I have
saying.
an example
let's-
for that. Sorry.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it. I was quickly going to say there's a saying that I think particularly in the past when people had pretty tough jobs, and there was a lot of say 50 years ago. There's a saying that people would come home and kick the dog because they've dealt with frustration. Now they're taking it out on the family, the dog, the wife, and the kids. But yeah, jump in there for sure.
Yes, in the beginning of my career, I really got a lot of frustrated because of clients, and then I wanted to like write the worst emails and tell them everything that I don't like and what's not going wrong and what from my perspective, is like not the right thing. But I literally knew I can't never send this email, so I just sent it to my boss, and he was then like, yeah. He acknowledged that, but then we could move on. So that helped me to write it down, but never send it.
Dude, I love that. I love that. Do you know how many? I did the same thing. I actually write down long form things I want to communicate, but then I never send them on the same day, and I rarely end up sending them. It's become a regular thing. Yeah. One of the cool things to keep in mind, and I've always remembered this, is that when you write that email and you're in an emotional state, or whether it's to your partner or whatever it is, you need to recognize that you're currently experiencing an altered state of consciousness and that you've got emotions that is going to impact how you think differently. And so because of that, it's probably almost always wrong to act out of that altered emotion, and you'll do things you regret. So take that second, take a breath, pause, don't hit send. Okay, guys? But you can still write it. I think there's a lot of healthy stuff that comes from that. Okay, so I think that Super Crunch wants to talk. Super Crunch, man.
Hello, Joe. Am I audible?
Hello, man.
hello.
What's up? Bro, you've just said you want to talk, and now I've given you the mic, and you haven't jumped in with it. Come on. You got to make a lasting impression. Let's go. Come on, brother. The clock's ticking.
Yeah. It's been a while. Like I'm talking right now because I have, as you can see, like I'm always busy and like I got a lot of frustrations almost like at night because like my shift for my work is at night, and like during the morning I go to school and something. And often the talk about frustrations and burnouts is a very, very rare one. And like, I wanted to share that it is not a very, very bad indications for you to talk with your founder or like the one that hired you that you want to skip a day to have the break. Because like I've been in that kind of consciousness that like I don't want to talk with my manager or founder about that, like taking a break, taking a day break, because like I've been like conscious that if I take the opportunity, I might not be like work more on that project or work long with that. And yeah, I took the step yesterday, and like the founder was really amazing that they give me the 1 day off, like like they say that if they call me online, they will like talk to me and like punish me with something, so they want me to go on a break. And yeah, guys, don't go build all by yourself, take a break. And sometimes it doesn't like have to be like building every day. Build with like organic interactions with everyone, not just like building with like having the trouble of like talking to each another, like replying to all of the tweets. Take a break, and yeah, that is the biggest rebrand I ever been. Like scheduling myself on a break every weekend, or not just weekend, but also like a day before I got to work, because like overloading yourself will never result to good one.
That's a great shout, guys. It's a really good shout. Yeah, we gotta learn to take care of ourselves like that and not think that we're just gonna leave. It's a super good point. Anyone else? Who else wants to jump in here? We've got so many people engaging in chat. I'm sure a few other people want to speak. Jump on board. Let's have a chat. Let's have a chat, guys. Yo, man. If you don't talk verbally on these sessions, you of the. It's very. I feel for you guys. I really want to help you guys learn. That you need to get engaged, man. I'm just telling you, you have to. You have to.
Yeah, and also Joe, I would like to like extend the and say sorry to like most of the people that had here, and like most of the people that I faded, because like my DMs is so fucking full. And like it is not that I don't have time to check my DMs, but yeah, I've been so tight with all of my schedules. And like if I respond, like it will be long. And yeah, no worries, guys. I will respond to all of your DMs if you have DMs on me. And yeah, I have left the conversations with Joe too.
Nah, that's cool. That's cool. Dude, nah, I mean, it's hard, it's tough, and you need to do things on your own. And when you're looking after yourself, I mean, that's got to be a priority, man. So you don't feel like you have to apologize too much with that. Yeah, that's all good, man. All right, cool. Who else wants to have a chat about this? I mean, there's so many different ways we could take the discussion. In terms of making a lasting impression, I've got more thoughts, but I want to see what the community wants to say, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
So I wanted to go back and say something. So first I think as regards the thing we talked about earlier, it was Theodore Roosevelt who remembered everyone's names, not Franklin. Like I mixed. There's still a Roosevelt too, anyway. So yeah, it was Theodore Roosevelt. But then, as regards like the topic too, I think it's still related. So I think the last session we had, I can't remember the name now. Where we talked about presenting yourself, where we talked about innovation and ingenuity and what's that other word? In I can't remember anymore. But like basically talking about how to like present yourself to projects, or like when you talked about Timmy and don't be a Timmy and stuff like that. I mean, we can also still bring it to this discussion when you're making a lasting impression. It's like when your manner of your especially your manner of approach. Okay, I'll give an example, a very good example using myself as the example. So, okay, Knox isn't here, but when my community Hopium DAO, we're trying to secure a collaboration with Materia Origin, and collaborations were very difficult to come by, especially with Materia Origin, because one, I didn't even have a connection with Knox. I just had a connection with Tom G, one of Materia's advisors, and it wasn't really like going to be part of like the influential people who get collaboration. But what I did after filling the form and everything was I made sure I DM'd every single founder who I could DM on Materia. And then my approach was to first like start with a greeting with hello, and then introduce myself as okay, this is who I am. and then just give a rundown of how I've researched on the project. I've seen, like, just give a recap on their own project, like giving them to actually let them know that I know everything I can, everything there is to know about your project, and then I like what you're doing about this project, and I see that my community can also be of help or can support in this way or in that way, and this is how we can do it. That we're already in your community, we're already doing this, we're already doing that, and from there, like, it was so easy to connect. I mean, I woke up one morning and I saw like I've been added to a group on Discord to like discuss further collaborations or further partnerships. And then even within that collaboration, I just made sure to be able to like make sure that I was respectful, make sure that I was able to come up with solutions when we hit a hitch. I think I hit a hitch with AlphaBot. So like I had to do something manually, like just trying to find solutions to different things. So I think in that scenario, because this is something that happened to me personally. I mean, even one of the founders had to be like, I think she tagged two other people in the chat and was like, oh, that I should, like an example of what collab managers should be in this space. I was like, okay, thank you very much. That was like high praise coming from her. So in that scenario, I mean, that this is something that has worked for me time and time again when securing partnerships for my community itself. So if it's on a small scale you start with, and then you can now like start to expand it on a larger scale in that scenario. So it depends on your manner of approach and also your 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 ability to like create things on the fly and also like prefer solutions even when you're DMing the person or when you're trying to reach out to the person or connect to the person, and as well as like shared interests too. So I think that's what I wanted to contribute to this.
That's cool, man. I like that. I like that. I think
Um,
I've got a little child. I've got something I think that could really help you, man, in potentially communicating. I've got a little personal tip for you, brother. Do you want to hear it? You
Yeah,
interested?
sure. More ears.
I think that you could really benefit from like taking a step back and thinking about how you structure what you're about to say. So, in the initial component of when you're speaking, I would try and give a bit of an overview and tell me what you're going to conclude as much as possible. So, do you see how at the start of this discussion with you, I just told you that I think there's something that I could potentially help you with directly to improve your speaking? In that first sentence, I've already linked you to the outcome. Okay. So now that if I go down tangents, you know, with our lead, whereas with your stories, sometimes it's hard to stay engaged because I'm not sure where it's going to link back to. And that's cool. There's nothing wrong with that. People that are actually captivating speakers, they take these unknown turns and twists and they loop in they link in seemingly unrelated experiences and they close the loop in such a way that provides this unique insight. And you've got this capacity to really reflect based upon your current life experiences to create insight. So that's a really powerful skill you have. A lot of people struggle to do it. And so, if anything, if you're going to link in multiple examples and have these really profound thoughts that tie to your personal experiences, you need to try and communicate where you're going as much as possible ahead of time. Because I guarantee you, like a significant portion of the audience, I'm not going to say all, might have zoned out or lost part of the picture there. Okay. So I hope that might be something that you might want to play around with. I think it can really help a lot of people with their communication.
Yeah, thank
So
you. I would add that to my. I don't really speak a lot, so like I write mostly. Like I prefer writing to speaking, but it's
I'll give
also
you
something that I would work on.
I'll give you a written example, all right? Pretend you're writing a legal essay, and you know how your introduction has to signpost where you're going in the rest of the essay?
Yeah,
Treat it like that, man. You need that introduction that already tells people the conclusion and what you're going to discuss in each of your body paragraphs, right? That's how you should think about it. So when you start, still think about it just like you were structuring an introduction for Swan framework. Okay, cool. I don't know. I hope that's useful. I think that it can be helpful. I also have a background in law, so I can relate to that process. Um, so I see that Chris Krypton has asked a question, which is it okay to approach the person that you didn't talk to in a while, where you just need him? That's a touchy question, man. It depends. I've got a simple answer though. It depends upon the nature of your relationship with that person. So there's people who you can do that to, and it's fine. But there's people you can't. And the people who just do that to you regularly, you're gonna get pretty bloody sick of them. Let's just be honest. It's gonna grow old pretty quickly. So yeah, it's not something you can do all the time. You got to be pretty cautious with that. But in saying that, like if you have a proper relationship with that person, they'll understand. They'll understand. Like there's people that could hit me up and only ever ask things every 6 months, and that would still be my man, my girl. So that shit, it's touch and go. But ultimately, you don't want to be doing it too much, Chris Krypton. You wanna minimize it as much as possible. 11, yeah, man. Jump in. Let's do it. Wait, you gonna type at 11, dude? If you want to add something, can't say, can I add something?
server
Yeah.
muted.
Oh, server muted, dude. Oh my god, this is an epidemic. This is an epidemic, dude. Everyone's
You
gonna
gotta cure
server
it.
mute. Man,
Maybe
my
Stripe is server muting some all of
dude,
the people that are hot.
dude, our moderation team is on their game today. They're on their game. Okay, welcome. 11, how are you, man? That's right. That's right, man. Great questions. All right, let's tackle the first one initially, which is asking what is the what if you're just coming to someone essentially without any value to provide? You just want to pick their brain. Is that the question, essentially? Okay, my advice to you is that if you approach the world as a beggar, don't expect to become a master. And I'm not saying that like in a cynical sense, but if you approach the world as a beggar, like you'll get treated like a beggar. And what happens with beggars? Beggars mostly get ignored in society, right? So there are exceptions to this. Like you could come across Mother Teresa or some person who's a mentor who wants to like take you under their wing. That's possible, but it's going to be a poor principle in society because society is based upon the law of mutual value exchange, right? So you need to really not try and just be asking people for favors. Like even a doctor, like say you have a serious health condition, or even not serious, like say you just need basic treatment. If you don't come to the doctor with money, like you can't really get your basic treatment. Okay, and the same is true here. So if you're just trying to come to people to pick their brains, you're going to have a pretty bad experience over the long run. Now, that's not to say that any given person won't just do that for you, because they will, right? People are good. Like, there's a lot of good people out there. But it's not a long-term winning strategy, my man. Do you know what I'm saying? So that's the first one. You need to think about ways of providing value, and you can't just be an information beggar. Information beggars, if you see to beg for information, go find it on YouTube or somewhere else so we don't have to take up people's time. So that's harsh but true, right? People need to be getting mutual value. So maybe just like a more direct way of saying this is like when you're networking, that what is networking? Well, networking is about making connections where there can be some exchange of value for mutual benefit, right? The key word here is mutual benefit. So if you don't have a way of providing mutual benefit and you're approaching the world as a beggar, that's not where you want to be, guys. All right. So can we recognize that? Does this make sense? Yeah. So that's the first question, 11. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, it's the same problem. It's the same problem, man. So if you're new in the space, it's probably not the right path. Like, for example, let's say I'm the time and I've maybe got like a modest audience, but say that fucking NFT God pops up on my timeline, I might just not be able to have an immediate discussion with NFT God, right? And so there's maybe no direct way for me to connect with NFT God straight away. So the approach is you've got to work on creating more value, because at the end of the day, if I was like Zeneca, one of the biggest actors in the space, like then I could have that immediate conversation with NFT God. So you got to be tactful, man. Like maybe the best example is with NFT God. What would I do if I just want to communicate with him? I would try and find mutual friends who could get me in contact. But yeah, if you're new to the space, you're not going to necessarily be able to have an immediate conversation with me where I'm going to provide you with a heap of value. Like you might be able to, but you shouldn't expect that. It's like I've got only so much time in the day, right? So yeah. Now there's a really. I'll get to your second question as well, which is what about people don't like you with DMs and they're just like they're not going to reply? Is that essentially what you're saying? Yeah. Is that it? Or no? Oh, I might be lagging here. I think I'm lagging.
No, I can hear you fine.
Okay, I got you. So I think 11-second question was people don't in DMs and they're not going to reply. Well, do you know that the number one thing you can teach your child almost is to be likable? Because if someone's likable, kids will want to play with them. They'll have connections. They'll be more likely to find a partner. Teachers will want to teach them. People want to work with them and they'll get included in projects and they'll go to events. So I don't want to be hard here, but like it's actually quite important to be likable. And if you're not likable, that's going to have significant consequences. There's no simple answer here, my man. It's important to be liked. Humans are social creatures. So be aware of that, man. If you're unlikable, that will hold you. No matter what you're doing in life, if you're unlikable, that's going to hold you back. Guys, this is harsh, but this is true, right? So you know this is true from your own life. Give me a hell yeah in chat. Like I'm being brutal, but this is true. If you're unliked or not likable, dude, teachers aren't going to pay as much attention to you. Girls or dudes aren't going to pay as much attention to you. You're not going to get that promotion. You're not going to get these opportunities. People aren't going to take their time out of their day. And this is a side point. This is why with kids, you need to teach them how to play with other people at a very early age. And it's about working out how they can play with their friends, because it's very important that you can work out how to be liked. So yeah, this is pretty key, guys. Now the other question that I saw asked above, and I thought it was a really good question, was how does this apply to IRL networking? So I think that was. So was this with respect, Ella? Was this with respect to me saying how people don't you can't be an information beggar? Is that the comment that this was with regards to? Can you let me know if that's or what that question specifically was related to? Yeah. Okay, so let's just be really honest with each other. People are going to give you more time if they think the content of your character is better. Okay, and I've had this experience in my own life. I'm going to give much more time to someone who I have belief in than someone who I don't. So if I think you're a deadbeat, I'm not going to give you as much of my time. So that's the same IRL, like to a certain extent. You got to be aware of this. Like people only have so much time they can put into who they go into depth with, and this will happen to you, man. Like if you're at a networking event, as you're going around, do you think that people aren't making a conscious either conscious or subconscious decision of whether you're interesting and worth investing time into, whether they should make an excuse and get away? Man, we're all doing this. We're constantly doing this. We're making that value judgment. So it applies IRL too, man. You gotta work out how to be a bit interesting, a bit likable, how to hold a discussion. Do you guys want some skills on how to do that? Do you want me to give you some thoughts on that, guys? Let me know. Say yes in chat if you want me to give you some thoughts on how you can immediately become a bit more likable and actually get that connection. Yeah? You want a few
Yeah.
tips?
Yes, we want a few tips.
All right, I'll give you ones you can do immediately. And this is a I'll pick some for that we can talk about. Can we talk about that beggar? Right. Let's actually answer this question. The person who just wants support and they're a bit in that situation. Well, one thing they could do is they could show authentic vulnerability, right? And what's the psychological basis for this? Because don't forget that everything's tied to human psychology, because we're ultimately just look, what is there apart from the psyche? It all links back there, right? So if you're authentically vulnerable, it can build trust and foster connections, because it makes you like more relatable and more human. So maybe like if you're at that event and you're that beggar, like who needs just looking for information, you might want to tie that to you recognizing that. You might want to be saying, look, I'm really a rookie here and I'm feeling uncomfortable, a bit out of my comfort zone, but I've taken up the courage to come chat to you. I'd really appreciate if you could share just some insights here. And it can immediately like help someone want to give you the time because you're being very forthcoming about that, okay, as opposed to awkward. So that would apply to our beggar. Now, another really good one that can apply a lot, and this is a bit different. But I'd say it's very important when you can do it. Man, is you've got to try and tell stories. Okay, you got to try and tell stories because narratives engage humans in a different way. We learn through stories. It makes things more memorable, and it just gets rid of these boring, plain facts. Okay, so that's one of the things I was trying to get to with Chime is when you've got these stories, you need to try and wrap it into a narrative that people are going to engage with. So try speaking narratives and try tell through stories. Another thing to make you more likable, man, the most important one maybe is just listening properly. So you got to listen. Ultimately, everyone wants to be heard, right? And the majority of people only listen to reply. So recognize that. Take a second and realize that you probably listen to reply in a lot of conversations. So if you're doing that, you're not deeply listening, right? So you need to listen, and then you'll have a chance, because when you listen to someone actually attentively, they can tell you're engaged. They can tell you're engaged, guys. That's going to make you more likable as well. So vulnerability, listening properly. There's more ideas here. Do you guys want more ideas, or are these enough? Are these enough to play with? Do you want more? Or are you happy with that? Do you want more? You want more? Okay. This is one that's maybe a bit different to a work conference, but I'll give you this one for your family, your mother, your father, your child, your partner. What you want to do occasionally is unexpected acts of kindness, right? The big difference when people remember outcomes, the gap between expectation and reality is what we call joy. All right, let me say that again. The gap between expectation and reality is what we call joy. And excitement, right? So if you have people who have high expectations, or they get accustomed to their mansion or whatever it is, that literally stops giving them joy and it becomes their baseline. This is proven in studies, right? So you want to try and have random acts of kindness that you can use to try and trigger people's dopaminergic system and give them that little hit of dopamine. So one thing that I'm doing, my partner is coming back tonight from Europe. She's been in Europe for 11 weeks. And I just bought her like a big bunch of flowers to give to her when she gets back, because she won't be expecting that, right? She won't be expecting me to be waiting there with a big bunch of flowers. And that gap between her expectation, like I'm going to the airport to pick her up, so she's expecting that. She's going to be happy to see me. That's dope. But then when I can go that little thing above her expectation, that crafts like a real psychological reaction. She'll feel some type of way, and that then reverberates and creates rewards. So think about that. How can you create these like little acts of kindness that make things exceed expectations? Because if you're just meeting expectations, you aren't going to cut it, right? This ties into another one, which is obviously elevating emotion. So if you can help elevate someone's emotion, it's going to make you more memorable too. So you can do this. A hack is you can do this in a fearful, but I mean, yeah, I think like, look, if you make someone feel fear, they'll remember you too. Okay, so like you can do that, but that's probably not going to have a positive impact. Instead, if you can get them to feel some sort of joy or excitement, like that could be good. But yeah, there's some thoughts, guys. There's some thoughts. Okay, guys, we're nearly wrapping up today. But look, let's just open the floor up. Who's found some benefit in this? Who's enjoyed our discussion?
Yeah,
Who's enjoyed
hello guys. I just want to add something in our main topic, which is making a lasting impression. Yeah, for me, we can leave lasting impression to someone if we offer value without asking, uh, or without expecting in return. I have an example. I'm not going outside Surgence. Example, Ruti is looking for a Reddit moderator or software developer, and you know someone who's a Reddit moderator or who is fit for a dev role. It's better to help Ruthie to connect him to the person you know without expecting a return. That's just an example on how we can leave lasting impression. This can be applied in any form, and you can always engage, talk in any events, ask in AMAs, give feedback, writing contents or anything. Just keep giving value, and giving value is like planting a tree. In a proper time you will reap a good fruit. If you sow value today, you will also reap value in the future. Yeah, that's my takeaways. Thank you.
It's true, man. It's true. Yeah, it's very wise. I agree. I agree with that, man. That's good, man. We got a smart community. What a smart community. Yeah, I mean, look, there's so many questions here, guys. Like, you got to work out what your skills are, man, because like not everyone's got the same skills in terms of how to be memorable, and they can't all play into the same strengths. Everyone's got different strengths. Play to your strengths. Work out what your weaknesses are. Address that, and don't forget. At the end of the day, humans are psychological creatures that need to be. They have certain needs, and sort of. I think if you ground that in the fact that it's another human being, and also an NPC, you can have a better chance being remembered. So, guys, that's my tips for today. I'm gonna start wrapping this up. Anyone else want to quickly jump in here? Say anything before we get out of here?
I just want to say thank you. That was very insightful for me.
Yeah, you liked it. I'm glad. I like to. I'm glad you could get some benefit from it. So I'm happy you got some joy. Let me know, guys, if you. So it's always nice when I get messages or people saying they appreciate it. It helps. It helps. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. But yeah, no, it's cool. I like how I think I found a view who like how I take like a psychological view on. Okay, I sort of zoom out and I try and ground our discussions in these deeper truths and principles. I do the same thing in my deal manager sessions. If you want to just learn about life and how I think about business and human beings, relationships, success, you can come to my deal manager sessions too, and you'll see that I tackle all these questions in a pretty similar way, which is trying to ground them in a bigger picture of what it means to be a human being. So if that suits you, come to my sessions again.
I have something to share.
Yeah, man, go for it.
Okay, sorry.
No, go for it. It's all good.
I just want to share that it's better for you to be the guy who is the one who is like the one asking questions with someone, and then from that way I think you can, even if you're asking questions, there's still room for growth, and you're not the one who is like the one the things that you already know about everything, and then not you're not be able to like you won't be even have to be taught by somebody else, and you think to yourself that you're the one who is like the only one that is good. And but I feel like in my own perspective, I think you can still learn a lot, and then you can work your way up, even if you have like even if you don't have and you don't know a lot of things yet. At least you still have enough room to grow and improve on yourself.
That's such a good comment. I'm really glad we get to end on that because I don't want to discourage people from doing that, but sending out those messages. It's a really strong sign
Yeah.
to show that you're on that path of improvement and you're trying to level up because most people aren't doing that, are they? They're just like they're not even making that effort. They're not out the bleachers. They're not participating. So, dude, I'm so fucking glad you said that
And I mean,
because it's important.
I feel
So
like
important, man.
your
So important.
every person's growth is different. So I feel like you don't have to rush things and work on your own pace and where you're comfortable with. And I think eventually everything will come in time on your like where you're comfortable on like going with your own your own pace. That's the only thing that I can share. Thank you.
No, Katsu, man, that is fucking actually amazing. So good, guys. I love that. I think it's balanced out that I've said. And by the way, guys, I just want to be real. The only reason I'm harsh is because I'm loving. Like, I wanted to try and give you guys shoot it how it is. You know what I mean? But Katsu, man, I love it. And if ever you guys who are coming, my regulars, want to jump in to take the harshness off some of my comments, it'll actually benefit the discussion. So that'd be really good. And we're going to do one more thing because that was really fucking good, Katsu, man. I love that. So we're going to give Speedy a chance to speak. Speedy, did you want to talk? Joseph is saying you want to speak up. Is
Hi
that a
Joe.
thing?
Hi everyone.
Yeah, what's up, Speedy?
Actually, just wanted to add something about what you've saying a while ago, and I really love all the things you've said, and I even take note all of this since I am new to Web3, and I'm still not actually new, but more than a year on Web3. I'm still learning a lot, and I love all you have said, all your points a while ago, and really giving a lasting impression or making lasting impression is very important. Especially, I just want to share. I am a former radio anchor, so it's in which I handle radio programs. So I definitely agree on that. That we really have to connect on their emotion for us to really connect as well on them and to gather them and be engaged on us. And also giving our vulnerability, that's also important. So yeah, I enjoyed this event today.
Thank you, Speedy. Man, I feel like we've got some similar thoughts, and we probably connect in some ways. I'd love to. It's great to see you, a new cohort member in here. Definitely at me and at our other people in chat, and come to these sessions. I feel like we could really connect and have some good chats. So it's great to have you here.
Thank you, everyone.
I feel like you're going to be a very natural fit to the tribe. The
Yeah,
Sugme
thank you,
gang.
Joe.
Bet. Thank you for speaking up, Speedy. Thank you, Joseph, for getting Speedy's word in here. Thank you, everyone who showed up, showed out, asked good questions, got engaged. Today's been cracker. Really, really good fun. I'm gonna wrap things up here. I'll catch you guys. I'll have my deal manager session as always next Monday. So you might want to come to that if you like the way I do things. Look out for that. It's at 9 p.m. my time, Australian Eastern Standard Time. So it's about 24 hours from here on Monday, right? So similar time, but 3 hours later on a Monday. There'll be an event. It'll be up on the events when we put up our events for next week. And then also I'll do another session next week as well. So just try and watch out for my sessions, and I'll catch you guys soon. And I'll see you in chat. All right, much love, gang. Get out of here. Bye.
Everybody pump it up. Don't you know?
Pump it up.
Pump it up.
All right,
Everybody
basically.
Let it go.
Keep it up.